there are many people out there, I think, who have a story, but they think, well, it's not like this story, so it is not that big and that emotional. It is much smaller. And what advice would you give to these people when they don't want to share it with other people?
Yeah. So, I'm going to say if people don't want to share it, that's on them. I'm going to give that piece. But I think there's a lot of people who think that their stories don't matter. I think that's the root of what I really want to address, if that's okay. I think there's a lot of people who are like, oh, my story's not that important. It's not that big. It's just something that happened to me. It's not as profound, and here's the reality. And that's why I say that exact statement when I talk about my story. Mine is very big. It is extremely unique. But whether you are suffering from a divorce, financial loss, it doesn't have to be a physical trauma. It doesn't even have to be trauma. It could literally be a struggle and a story and ways that you overcame. The reality of it is we can all learn from our collective stories. And there will, no matter what, be people on this planet that will be able to identify or relate to your story in some way. Now, there's not a lot of people who can relate to getting a limb completely ripped off. But what I've learned from it and the other pieces of my journey are what people connect to, not the actual story. Right? Because that's what's important, is what are the lessons that we can become aware of from our stories? And then how do we become intentional with how do we put them into our lives? And the reality of it is, I think that stories are some of the best teachers we have. When I'm on stage, when I talk about content, you've been consuming some of the content I've been putting out recently. I tell stories, right? I don't give 7-step systems. I don't give like 5 steps to success. Like, there's pieces of that ingrained in what I do, but it's stories that teach lessons more powerfully than almost anything else. So I would just encourage people who think that their story isn't worthy, their story isn't good enough, it's not that big of a deal. If it was a big deal to you, it's going to be a big deal to somebody else. And so don't worry about the comparison factor. Focus more on, how do I learn and grow and help others learn and grow from what I've been through? That's the important piece.